Welcome to my new podcast. Cancer wasn't part of the plan. So some of you may know and some of you may not know. First off, if you don't know who I am, I'm Deb Waterbury. I host the show Ask Dr. Deb and have a lot of different books and podcasts and stuff. You can find me on YouTube at Deb Waterbury. But this is a new podcast, and so some of you do know me and some of you don't. So I just got a recent diagnosis of breast cancer, like with just in the last couple of days. And you know, when you get that diagnosis, and I know those of you, many of you have had that diagnosis or a similar one, you've known someone, had a family member, it is heavy. It's a heavy diagnosis, and I'm not going to lie to you. There was a couple of seconds when I heard the word breast cancer that, you know, you just go, oh my gosh, I have breast cancer. And then there's that deep, it's a fear that hits almost immediately. Now, it only took me a few minutes, or a few seconds, I should say, to get past the fear. I tend to be a very, okay, what do we do now person. The doctor even stopped me at one point and made sure I heard what she said. I said, yeah, I heard you. I have cancer. I got you. So I tend to be, okay, what do I do next? And I'm sure most of you have been that way too. And then I went to okay, God, you are the author of all things. I know you didn't give me cancer, but I know that you're not going to waste it. So what do you want me to do? Now, those of you who do know me know that I tend to be a very private person. I love talking about Jesus. I love talking about God, but I don't like talking about myself, unless it's bad stuff. I'm pretty good at sharing all the bad stuff, but I'm not great at, telling what's going on in my heart. I think I've even shared in a couple of Ask Dr. Debs that I'm great at transparency. I'm just not so good at vulnerability. So the Lord has really called me to be vulnerable in this season because I believe there's a demographic out there of men and women who have gone through this kind of thing and haven't necessarily known the commonalities. I think there are lots of medical journals and a lot of people actually, I know there are podcasts out there and people that are sharing their journey, and I applaud them and I applaud their vulnerability in doing so. I want this to be a little bit different, though. I do want to share with you as I'm going through this. I want to share this with you when I'm going to doctor's appointments, when I'm having radiation, surgery, all those things that are coming down around the bend. But I'll do that. I'll post stuff whenever I'm at the doctor's office or whatever. I want you to be with me. I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling at different times. But I want to base this podcast really around, it is unexpected. Nobody expects to hear breast cancer. Nobody expects to hear that kind of diagnosis. So when the unexpected happens, how do you respond? And let me tell you a quick story, because this is really what has prompted me realizing I need to share this. So about 18, 20 years ago, I was working at another church as the women's pastor, and a very good friend of mine, she was a woman, lovely woman, ran the production department, and everybody loved her. Well, she got a really bad diagnosis, a breast cancer diagnosis, and it was severe, like she was in stage 3 or 4 when it was diagnosed, so it was not good. She actually went home to be with the Lord about 6 or 7 months later. But I remember that when she got the diagnosis, it was a Friday or a Saturday or maybe even Sunday when I heard, and I was dreading Monday morning because my office, everybody always came by my office and we always talked and whatever. And so I knew she'd come to my office and I didn't know what to say to her because, I just didn't know, what do you say? And so Monday morning comes and I'm sitting in my office and I hear her coming down the hall and I'm thinking, oh no, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? So she, of course, comes into my office like she would every Monday. And I just said, hey, I'm so, so sorry. And her response totally befuddled me because she looked at me without even not a trace of fear in her brain, in her face. And she said, I'm just excited to see what God's about to do. And then she turned around and walked off. And I just sat there in my office just like, how does a person have that response in the face of something so dire? How does a person have that response? And I remember, I've spoke about it from the pulpit. I think I've included this story in a couple of my books because because from that comes the lesson of I found out how this particular woman had this kind of reaction was because she'd already done the homework. She'd already put the work in. She was all about God. She was all about leaning into that relationship. Now, let me tell you, she wasn't a hyper spiritual person necessarily. She's not somebody, you would expect it. She wouldn't wear dresses and all, look all goody two shoes all the time. She couldn't have been my friend otherwise. But she was truly in the Word every day. She had built that relationship every single day. And so I've been teaching that and using her as this example of almost unattainability. And to be very, very honest with you, it felt up until a couple of days ago when I got that diagnosis like this was just, this was a hyper unattainable state. Because who could know the Lord to that place where they would trust it that way, in that way? How would a person, they have to just really have a relationship with God that we could only aspire to. So when the doctor called me a couple of days ago and broke the news to me that I had breast cancer, again, I had a couple of seconds of, oh God, while she's talking, oh my gosh, this is real. And then, there was a voice inside me that said, nope, we don't do that. That's fear. So I immediately went to, all right, what are the next steps? What are the next steps? Then I got off the phone. I happened to be visiting a very good friend of mine at the time when I found out, which I'm so thankful for because she's been my spiritual friend and mentor for so many years. And I think that was a God-ordained thing. But when I got off the phone, she asked me, how are you feeling, Deb? And I saw myself for a second, and then I realized I knew how I was feeling. And I said to her, well, there's only one word that can describe how I'm feeling right now. And it's going to sound weird, and you may even think I'm lying, but this is how I'm feeling. The word is favor. I feel very favored right now. And she said, that's interesting. Tell me more. I said, well, I don't know what to tell you. I feel favored. And I'm almost excited about what's about to happen because I know what the Lord's about to do. And it's only going to be spectacular. And I know I should be afraid right now. I should be sad, but I'm excited. And in that second, I hadn't thought about that story about my friend in so long, but in that second, the Lord reminded me of that story and how I had assumed that this was unattainable. And here I sat, same diagnosis, and I had the same response. And I was utterly dumbfounded at that because I know I'm not a hyper spiritual person. I know that I'm not on any kind of spiritual level. And so what the Lord told me was, Deb, you had the same response as her because you've put the work in. You have gotten to know me. You spend time with me. When things go wrong, you still come to me. When they go right, you come to me. You have, and in the good times and the bad times, and sometimes, please hear me, I have ran from him as hard as I can. Thing is, you can't run away from him. David found that out. It doesn't matter where you go. He's right there. And the Lord never gave up on me, but I never gave up on him. I kept putting the work in. So here's the deal. It feels like there's no way you can feel that. And please hear me. Since that day, I've had a couple of days where it's not been so great since then. And then I'm starting to feel that weight of it. And I'll share those things as we go because I think we all go through this. But my initial response was one that I would never have expected that I had because I know me. I live in here with me. I know I'm not great. I know I'm sinful. I know I have wrong thoughts. I know I'm angry. I know I do all the things that aren't necessarily godly. But my response was one of excitement and feeling favored because I have spent time getting to know this God whose character is undeniable. So what I want to do over the course of the next weeks and months as we take this journey together, some of you are on the journey of cancer. Some of you have been on it. Some of you know people who are on it. I want to just share where I am and how I'm feeling, but I want to bring it back every single time to how we can rest in the midst of scary stuff. It doesn't have to be a cancer diagnosis. It can be just about anything. A marriage breaking up, illness, lost child, whatever. It can be so many things. But in the midst of those things, those are not the time. It's not the time in the middle of that to try to build that relationship, because what you're going to do is respond to the relationship you've built. So it's not too late if you're in the middle of it to build it now. But let me tell you, if you can, it is good to build it before. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about as I'm going through this journey, ups and downs, sideways, all the stuff. And I'm going to try my best. I covenant with you right now. I'm going to try my best to be vulnerable. And the Lord has commanded me to do so. And I've learned over the years when he tells me to do something that I just say yes. So I've said yes to this. I'm going to drop an episode every week. And then there'll be the ones in between where I'm just going to doctors or whatever when I just feel like I need to share something with you. But the actual podcast episodes will drop every week. And I'm going to really want you to comment and tell others, people who might be struggling, so we can just take this journey together. But it's going to be a God journey. Let me just tell you that right off. This is a journey about real life, fallen bodies in this fallen world, and how this God who knows me and adores me, and he hates that I have cancer too. I mean, this is not his best for me. And yet he's right there with me, because I, fallen Deb, could have an initial reaction of, wow, this is going to be exciting. And I meant it. I mean, I meant that, which is just wild to me that I meant that. And you can mean that too. I want to take this journey together. I hope you'll follow me. I hope you'll join me on this. It's going to be good, because everything God does is good. It might just not feel good at times, but that's all right. He'll be right there with me as he's with you, and we'll be in this together. So God bless you, and I will see you for our next actual official episode next week. See you later.